Hello everyone, I'm Alex Dykes, and as promised, we are out here taking a look at the 2016 RAV4 Hybrid. Because we recently looked at the refreshed 2016 RAV4 in a different video, this video is going to be a little bit shorter than normal, and it's going to be focusing mainly on the differences between this hybrid and the regular RAV4. The first thing to know about the hybrid RAV4 is that it comes only in two trims. We're taking a look at the limited trim right here, which means we do have these full LED headlamps. There's also an XLE trim, which is sort of the midline trim in the RAV4, and that comes with halogen headlamps. Toyota keeps the exterior changes very minimal on the RAV4 when you go from the gasoline-only model to the hybrid model. We really just get some additional hybrid badging, as well as the all-wheel drive badging on each side of the vehicle. Obviously, the biggest change is found right here under the hood, because the regular RAV4 gets only one engine. It's a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine producing 176 horsepower. The hybrid model also uses a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine essentially borrowed from the Toyota Camry hybrid. This engine, coupled with the three electric motors in this drivetrain system, produce 194 system horsepower and right around 206 pound-feet of torque. This hybrid system not only improves performance dramatically from the base RAV4, it also drastically improves fuel economy. The regular RAV4 gets between 25 and 26 miles per gallon combined. This vehicle gets 33 miles per gallon combined. The interior is essentially the same as the regular RAV4, which means these seats are among the more comfortable in this particular segment because our limited model has a two-way adjustable lumbar support. Now, you'll only find that in the limited model. The XLE model does have a manual seat and no lumbar support. Toyota has a lot of practice when it comes to building hybrids, and they're getting better and better with packaging. There really is no difference in the rear seat in the RAV4 hybrid versus the regular RAV4, even though there's actually a portion of the battery pack right here under the seat. You can actually see this little vent right here, the bottom of the seat. These rear seats still recline, and of course they still flip and fold forward, so you can put large cargo into the car. When it comes to cargo capacity, the gasoline-only RAV4 has an enormous cargo area. It's about 33% larger than the average entry in this segment. Even though this cargo area shrinks a little bit down to just over 35 cubic feet, this is still a decent amount larger than those gasoline-only competitors. Now, if you were expecting the RAV4 Hybrid to skip a spare tire, so was I. However, we will both be pleasantly surprised because you will still find a compact spare tire right here under the cargo load floor. The interior is largely the same, except that of course we get a power gauge replacing the tachometer right over here on the driver's side. The Entune infotainment system gets a different display, which is this typical energy monitor. And of course, since all RAV4 hybrids are all-wheel drive, it actually shows you the status of the rear electric motor in addition to the front electric motors. You'll find the last difference right down here below the controls for the climate control system, and that would be this EV button, the Eco Mode button, and the Sport button. These do control the way the hybrid system behaves. Aside from that, we do have the same interior as the rest of the RAV4 lineup, so we do have the Softex leatherette stitched portion of the dashboard here, hard plastics aside from that, and then we do have a traditional shifter, so you don't find a Prius-like shifter. This is exactly the same one that we find in the regular gasoline RAV4. Toyota makes a variety of different hybrid systems, and this one is basically borrowed from the Toyota Camry as well as the Lexus ES Hybrid. We have a 2.5-liter Atkinson cycle engine up front, and then of course 3 electric motors. The reason for the 3 electric motors is that Toyota borrowed the engine and transmission basically from the Toyota Camry Hybrid, and you'll find that up front, and then they borrowed the rear electric axle from the Lexus RX Hybrid. The big thing to know here is that we get 194 system horsepower total, and that can either be sent all to the front wheels or split between the front and the rear wheels. However, because the rear motor is only a 67 horsepower motor, you can never send more than 67 horsepower to the rear. Even when that 67 horsepower motor is running full out, you will never get more than 194 system horsepower total. The hybrid system sort of makes the RAV4 the unicorn in the small crossover segment because we have been averaging 34 miles per gallon in mixed driving, which is the best by far in this segment. That's about 5 to 7 miles per gallon better than you'll find in the Mazda CX-5 in real-world driving. And the more city driving you do, the bigger the difference between the Mazda CX-5 and the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. In addition to that, the acceleration has been significantly improved in the RAV4. The regular gasoline-only RAV4 runs from 0 to 60 in a very slow 8.9 seconds. In fact, it's the second slowest model in this segment, faster only than the base Mazda CX-5 with their 2-liter engine. Most of the CX-5s you find out there will run 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds, and this runs 0 to 60 in 7.5. If you want to go faster than this, you will have to buy a Ford Escape with the 2-liter turbo to get 7.2 seconds, or a Subaru Forester XT at 6.6. Of course, the fuel economy in the Forester XT is definitely going to be lower than this RAV4, and the fuel economy in the Ford Escape is very, very disappointing. When it comes to braking, we ran from 60 to 0 in 126 feet, which is quite short for this segment, even considering this is a hybrid. That's because we still have wide 235 width tires on this car. Now, on the downside, the transitions between regenerative braking and friction braking are definitely like other hybrids out there. So there is a little bit of a delay sometimes, especially if you're moderately braking and then you move on to panic braking in the same braking maneuver. So I have the brake pedal pressed a little bit right now, and then I all of a sudden start stomping on it. It's going to feel a little bit unusual. The 235 width tires do help with the handling. However, the RAV4 is still quite soft, and with the addition of the hybrid system, this weighs nearly 4,000 pounds. So you're definitely going to find better handling options from Kia, Hyundai, Ford, and Mazda. Interestingly enough, the ride takes a little bit of a hit in the RAV4 because Toyota has actually increased the suspension height in this. They've also tweaked the suspension overall a little bit due to the added weight and the differing weight balance that we get in the RAV4 hybrid. The ride height in the hybrid model is actually 9/10 of an inch higher than the regular gasoline-only RAV4. In addition, this suspension seems to transmit small road imperfections into the cabin a little bit more readily than the regular gasoline model. Because the engine is not spending a great deal of time running, cabin noise comes in among the best in this particular segment. And of course, fuel economy is astounding. We've been averaging 34 miles per gallon, which is better than the EPA says you're going to get. This is several miles per gallon better than we find in the most fuel-efficient front-wheel drive entries in this particular segment, especially when you take a look at the city score in this vehicle. If you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know that in general I am a fan of hybrids, and that includes the Toyota RAV4 hybrid. The RAV4 hybrid is only $700 more than an all-wheel drive comparably equipped gasoline-only model. However, of course, if you're taking a look at the front-wheel drive model, this is going to be about $2,100 more than that. The hybrid system benefit is readily apparent here because not only do we get that improved performance, but we also get greatly improved fuel economy. We've been averaging over 34 miles per gallon during our week with this particular RAV4. That means that in my tests, this vehicle beat the regular RAV4 by nearly 50%. I admit that fuel is not terribly expensive in the United States right now, so the actual cost of operation difference between this and the regular RAV4 is relatively small. However, again, we do get that improved performance. The tricky thing, of course, is that there is very little direct competition for the RAV4 hybrid because nobody else makes a hybrid in this segment. However, this is where Toyota's aggressive pricing comes into play, because as I said, this is only about $700 more expensive than an all-wheel drive RAV4. This means that when you compare this to an all-wheel drive competitor, the RAV4 comes in very, very well priced. A Honda CR-V comparably equipped with its regular gasoline engine will actually still be a little bit more expensive than this RAV4 hybrid. That means that if you're looking at the CR-V in mid or top-end trims, the RAV4 will deliver you more power, better fuel economy, and a slightly larger cargo area for a hair less money. Mazda's CX-5 is one of the more fuel-efficient entries in this segment, but to even approach the fuel economy that we see right here in this RAV4, you do have to get the base 2-liter engine, which is the slowest 0 to 60 time in this particular category. You also can't get that 2-liter engine with all-wheel drive. You do have to step up to the 2.5-liter engine in the Mazda. Of course, the fuel economy definitely drops. The CX-5, the Tucson, and the Ford Escape are the best handling options in this particular segment, and that is one area where the RAV4 hybrid really falls behind a lot of the competition. My bottom line with the RAV4 hybrid is that if you're shopping for the XLE or the limited trim, you should just spend the extra and get the hybrid model. It's faster, it's more efficient than the regular RAV4, and there are very few downsides for the average driver. 99% of all-wheel drive shoppers will notice very little difference between this and the average all-wheel drive entry in this segment. It's also important to remember that in inclement weather, especially in snow, your tires have an awful lot more to do with the way the car handles than the all-wheel drive system. Because all-wheel drive, in general, does not get you around a corner any faster. That's where your tires come in. All-wheel drive systems don't improve your braking either. Remember that if you put snow tires on this vehicle and you put it on an ice rink, it would run circles around a regular RAV4 with all-season tires on it. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. Again, I'm Alex Dykes. Be sure and click that subscribe button down there, and I'll see you next week.